Hello, everyone. How is everybody doing today? My name is Dr. Horacio Maldonado from All Things Leadership YouTube channel, and I'm excited today to have a good friend, Stephanie Johnson. She is a reference and instruction librarian with National University, my alma mater, and to have as my guest today. So, Stephanie, welcome to our channel, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're happy, Stephanie. Um, So, Stephanie, I definitely want to spend some time with you today and just talk a little bit about emotional intelligence and how pretty much it coincides with your role as a in academia and as a librarian, and which you do a lot with people. And the emotional intelligence piece is such an important piece, and I definitely want to spend a couple of minutes with you and just talk a little about it. And so, if you don't mind me asking, how can academic library leaders leverage emotional intelligence to build trust and foster collaboration among diverse staff and faculty? As we know, uh, universities now is we're very diverse. Everybody's diverse, so we have to be able to understand with that. So, what is your take on that? How can the academic leaders, library leaders, leverage that emotional intelligence with staff from your perspective?
Well, first thing I want to say is I remember a long time ago I read something by Quint Studer, who is a leadership expert. He's pretty amazing. If you haven't read him before, I highly recommend looking into some of his works. But emotional intelligence is often considered like a soft skill. And I think it's so funny because he referred to it as a vital skill. And I think that speaks more strongly towards emotional intelligence than anything else does. It's not really a soft skill, it is a vital skill. And I would say the probably the biggest pieces of emotional intelligence that I've seen come into play in academic libraries in specific, and just sort of in leadership as a whole, is going to be the idea of self-awareness and empathy. Like those two, I think, are the biggest pieces. The more self-aware a leader is, the better it is for their people, the more vulnerable they feel that they can be because they see that their leader is being vulnerable with them as well. And it certainly opens the door for empathy as well.
Yeah, definitely. I like how I love that word battle skill. I think it's true.
Isn't that?
Validating emotions in an environment where we're so diverse, it can, I guess, go either way. Let me ask you, do you think that leaders, if they're not empathetic, do you think that affects the way they view emotional intelligence with their team, with their staff?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would say so. I think that someone who cannot see where someone else is coming from or possibly imagine themselves in that person's shoes, I don't know that they can ever have a clear view or a clear understanding of perhaps the pain or even the happiness and joy that someone is experiencing while standing right in front of them.
Yeah. Definitely. I see that a lot with my clients in my industry. They're like, I need you to go do it and I want you to do it now, right? And I'm like, oh, hold on. That approach could be seen very differently by different people, right? I recently spoke with a general manager of a food chain in South Carolina, and then I said, the idea of I told you to do it because I'm in charge, that has gone away years ago. Okay, now we have people that have different ways of absorbing words and then how they're going to emotionally share those words. And so he goes, you know what, Horacio, I don't have time for that. And I said, well, if you don't have time for that, that is your culture. That's the culture that you're setting. So, and I say that word to you, Stephanie, about, if a leader's not empathetic, does it affect? Because I have had different responses on, yeah, well, I can still be empathetic and still be emotional, but not really that much. And I'm like, well, either you are or you're not, I think, from my perspective. So, but I appreciate the your answer. I love that vital skill. Yeah, you see, I wrote it down, so it's gonna.
Quint Studer, I'm telling you, he's
I'm gonna
amazing.
use it somewhere. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely get the name of that book or that person. So no, so in what ways does emotional intelligence enhance a leader's ability to manage conflict and reduce burnout in high pressure academic library environments? Um, my previous employer, emotional intelligence was like 90% of our job.
Yeah.
10% was like, it's gonna be okay, just take a day off, go for a walk, breathe. And until I had to raise that flag and be like, no, no, hold on, this just more than just go walk the building a couple of times.
Right.
So how do you basically how do you manage that conflict and especially within your role?
So, I mean, I think the thing to keep in mind is that as an academic librarian, I have people above me, and then I have people at the same level as me. Um, and sometimes the conflict is with the same people on the same level. Sometimes it's conflict with a student. Sometimes it's conflict with the boss. I think emotional intelligence really comes into play with that, with self-regulation, right? So the ability to control your emotions. And I am not always the best of that. I will tell you that is the one part of my personality. It probably shares, comes over from my Marine Corps, right?
Yeah.
Time. But sometimes my temper is not always the best. And so I will say that I think the thing that I see happening in academic libraries where there is a healthy work environment is really intense self-regulation from the leadership. And not self-regulation like they're shutting down their emotions, but self-regulation like they're not allowing their emotions to control them, right? So they may be upset, they may be a little angry about something that's happening, but rather than acting on that, they pause. They have that self-reflection, right? And then they go ahead forward with whatever needs to be done and how it needs to be done. And they work with people. That transparency piece is really big too. Um, I think with conflict resolution, the more transparent you can be with why something has to happen, the better it is for all of those involved. I know at my current location, I have one of the most emotionally intelligent teams I've ever been a part of. It is phenomenal. And what I really love is nothing's really just decided for us. There's always some piece of feedback that they're asking for from us that really makes it feel like we have a say in what we're doing. And it may not be that we have a say in every single thing, but we at least they're transparent with us about any little pieces that we do have control over. And I think that that helps kind of keep the conflict down as well. So not so much conflict resolution, but not even encountering the conflict because there is nothing to
Yeah,
have a problem with.
definitely. I like the transparency piece. I like the self-regulating piece too as well because we have to self-regulate. How do you feel about the word emotional boundaries?
I'm a big fan. So there's a book called Boundaries that I love. It was one of the life-changing books for me. I read it many, many years ago. I think boundaries are so healthy, and I think you have to have them on all different levels, right? You have to have them in your interpersonal relationships, just husband, wife, child, even mother to my daughter. I have a 25-year-old. There's still boundaries that are there. Um, I think the word emotional boundary feels a little funny when you start thinking about it in a leadership aspect or you think about it in the workplace.
Yeah,
But the truth of the matter is everyone has emotions, even in the workplace.
yeah,
So having an emotional boundary is truly it sets an expectation,
yeah,
and I think that that's healthy.
yeah. I think people are still
So I
afraid.
think I broke up a little bit there.
Oh, no, you're good. I think a lot of people are still afraid of the word emotional because, emotion speaks, well, I'm not ready to talk to you. And the reason I use the word emotional boundaries, I recently had a discussion with some healthcare nurses about, say we have to establish some boundaries, just like you have a bond with somebody, you gotta have a bond with your emotions too, and I kept on reiterating in my discussion with them, like, look, if you're emotional, you're not rational. So it's not about doing anything with your emotions. It's like one, like you said, I have to self-regulate myself, but I can't control the other person, but I can control how I react to those feelings. And if I'm not validated, it becomes just a nightmare. I had
Yeah.
I don't want to say the privilege, but it was a great lesson learned for me being in an environment where if you've been talked about your emotions, you're like, so what's wrong? And I'm like, what's going on? It's like, no, what's wrong? They got so, how can I say it? Concerned about your emotions because you're like, we don't have time for emotions. We're in the business of doing A, B, C, and D. We're like, man, we can't be doing that, dude. I mean, we talk to other humans. We're not speaking to a robot. We're still other humans that have emotions. And then the people that we serve are already emotional when they come and see you. So now you have to fight
Yes.
yourself,
Y-
regulate everybody else, that
You know
boundary.
why?
I'm curious. Say it.
You know why that is? It's because 100%, I just saw this from Simon Sinek today, something about 100% of customers are people, 100% of investors are people. So if you don't understand people, you don't understand business. It's the same thing with leadership. If you don't understand people, you don't understand leadership.
I am
You
with
have to understand your people and you have to allow them to be people.
you. You have to,
Sorry.
and you're so correct. A lot of 99% of my trainings that I do, my courses on leadership, is all about look, do not forget about that human factor. Okay. The person you're speaking to may or may not, he or she may not be okay with you. And how you're saying is going to affect him or her differently. So we have to be able to understand, that's one of the biggest things I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of articles about this because I feel this paradigm shifting on emotions. It's like we're gonna talk about it, then hold on, something's happening. We can't talk about it anymore. Now I'm gonna seclude myself. I'm gonna go into the little rabbit hole of mine, and I'm gonna protect my emotions because if I say something, it might come back the wrong way.
Sure.
Stephanie, I love talking to senior executives about emotional intelligence because you wanna know why? Because they get all squirmy with me. It's like, I'm so
You
serious.
put him in the hot seat, Horacio.
It's very simple. Okay, the success that you have this organization is based on those people out there. Okay. And then I said, I want everybody to do one favor for me. Just try this once, and I'm gonna guarantee you that you're gonna change the culture, you're gonna change the atmosphere. I do not want you to ask your staff, your people, your team, how are they doing? Ask them, how are you feeling? And I'm gonna guarantee you that you're gonna get a totally different answer in how you're feeling. I did that with my team when I started my company. How are we feeling today? I don't ask you how you do. How are you feeling today? I got you. Boom. Acknowledgement, recognition of what they're feeling, and it makes that conversation so much better. Be like, okay, I understand. So I'm not going to put too much on you, or I'm not going to stress you out more than what you're already stressed because of the situation. But that transparency you talked about earlier is key. So, but I appreciate it. I like that. You gave me all
Well, and
this.
Horacio, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I said, now you give me these big words that I'm writing down that I'm going to use. Okay, just let you know.
Well, no problem. I got to tell you, I just your last story just really made me key in on something that when this happened for the first time in my current position, that's when I knew. Like I already knew I had a pretty good team. Like I already knew I was on a good, like strong team. They were smart. It was, just people really that were passionate about their job. The first time they sent out a temp check
Oh,
and it was anonymous, and I came from, there were several places I've worked where they said it was anonymous, but then you didn't know if it was anonymous, but this really felt honest, right? And so I gave my honest feedback and I put my name at the bottom because they said if you want to talk about anything, go ahead, put your name. And didn't I just get the call? Didn't I get the meeting? Didn't I get the how can we help? And it was huge to know that they weren't just checking everybody's temperature,
hmm.
like to see who's going to complain. They were like, help us help you
Yeah.
so that you can help our students better. And it was amazing. Amazing. Temp checks are big.
I like that. But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
See that having maybe like in some sort of like an emotional intelligence survey given out to pretty much everybody within the organization. Do you think they'll be well received, or we think there'll be some like, I don't know if I'm ready to really express how I feel? Almost like we in the military, in the Navy, we used to call them those climate control checks, which I'm like, how are you doing today? Well, I've been deployed for 300 something days. Fantastic.
Right.
I'm doing
I'm,
fantastic.
I'm great. Thanks for asking. Um, that's a great question. I would say it depends on the department, probably.
Mhm.
Because I think, we have great leadership at the top, like we really do. In fact, one of the books I just finished reading recently called The Power of Moments was actually recommended by our school president.
Mhm.
And it's a wonderful, wonderful book, and it talks a lot about like elevating not just your employees, but people that you're around and helping them trip over the truth and really interesting conversations. So I feel like as an institution, we're pretty emotionally intelligent as a whole, but I would say we are an institution full of people. And because we're an institution full of people, there are going to be some that are more emotionally intelligent in general. And there are probably going to be some that are a little more like those CEOs that you talk to that are a little more, maybe a little more withdrawn or they hold a little bit back. I think it's encouraged, which is, I think a step in the right direction. I think encouraging that throughout the ranks is important.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I look back at my military career after 24 years. I'm like, I don't remember the last time I spoke to anybody about emotional intelligence. I don't even think it existed. Yeah, it was there, but I don't think that was one of the things where I'm like, so we're going to disarm this bomb. How you feeling today? No. Yeah.
I Yeah, I will say in the military, yeah, you didn't necessarily, but when you did experience it though, when you did experience it, it was almost even more impactful. Like I have someone that I'm still in touch with. The last time I knew him, he was a gunny when I was in the Marine Corps.
Mm.
He retired much higher than that, but I still call him Gunny. He's still that person that approached me like I was a human, not like I was just another Marine.
Yeah. I want to share something with you, Steph. I'm not even going to go to the next question because we kind of already.
Sorry.
We're good. This is perfect. This is perfect. So during my research, when I do my dissertation, right now, I was talking to a lot of senior military leaders about, just my topic, right?
Yep.
And it was after it was all said and done, I was putting all my transcripts together. I was up late doing something, and I was hearing all the recordings all over again, right? And for some reason, I had it scripted so I can have it, but. I paid more attention to the videos, right, with the interviews. Besides the questions I was asking for my research, there was so many times where they were getting emotional because like, Horacio, nobody's ever asked me this question outside this uniform. And it was that personal one-on-one moment, I still get choked up on it because it was like I interviewed like colonels, 2 stars, and they're telling me about what did not happen. And then they'll bring in that emotion. So it's like when we're just talking about it, I'm like, my God, I spent like 3 hours hearing these people's like, I didn't appreciate how that, lieutenant commander made me feel. At that time, I couldn't say crap, but
Yeah.
I wish I heard a lot of, I wish I would have been more astute. I wish I would have been more vocal in how that person made me feel because it impacted my time in that command. And I'm talking about I was in Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and I did one Space Force. That Space Force was it blew my mind. She's like, if you think that people care, I'm gonna tell you. And I mean, without going into detail, I was just
Yeah.
my jaw dropped, and I'm like, wow. And she's like, who's gonna hear this? Nobody.
Nobody. Yeah.
Nobody. Go into the safe. It's gonna go to the vault. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's such an important piece, and I don't think people want to talk about it, Stephanie, to be honest with
Yeah, which is so sad because the truth of the matter is 100% of the people who don't want to talk about it are also people,
you. Yes,
right? And it's like, you have these emotions. I often wonder if that has more to do with like our upbringing sometimes. Like some people you meet, you
it
think
does.
it might be, yeah. And then other people are just, wide open. And then there's some of us who are sort of wide open and then we realize we have to pull back or, whatever.
Oops.
Um, yes, the social skills part comes into play there, right?
Yeah. No, you're. I think it has to do with the culture, with the upbringing, with location, geographically, and that's one of the things I'm doing a side project with another professor from another university. Is like, let's talk about something. Like, I'm on board for that because I just think that when we brought this project up to a board, and we got very mixed signals. Like, so why do you guys want to know how emotion? I'm like, well, wouldn't be great data to provide to professors, to universities about, hey, this is what's happening right now involving ocean intelligence. Like, well, oh, because I said this, Stephanie. I don't mind saying it. And I kind of piss people up. I don't care, man. And I said, something's a lot about pride and it's about ego. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like when I was talking to all these high rank individuals who are like, "Psh, me, emotions. Yeah, I put it in a Ziploc bag and left it outside. And I'm like, no, you don't. And you don't, because guess what? You're still a husband, a father outside of that uniform. So, um, I wish there'd be more transparency, and I really appreciate how you said it earlier. Like, I wish there was a little bit more transparency when it came down to that. And let's be upfront about it. Can we talk about that up in the room? But believe it or not, I just did a DI training in New Mexico for a sheriff's department, okay, on this, okay? And yeah, I'm not gonna go back. And it wasn't because of what I was teaching. It was because the air was so tight in there.
Mm.
I'm like, so hold on, you called me to come to this training, and then when I give you this information, because I have to bring numbers, because numbers are mine. I love numbers, and they're like, so why do I? This is the question I got. Perfect. Let me take my time. Okay, we're good. But the best question was like, why do I need to be emotional about something if it does not involve me? And I was like, oh, okay. I see where we're going with this question. And I said, um, because the people that you're talking to is another human being that has emotions. And if you're not accepting or understanding, but by you making that statement, sir, and I said that he didn't like, I don't give a crap. He goes, by you saying that statement just means I could basically just, I would rather you say, you know what, I don't really care about your emotions. I don't want to know. So let's just get the work done. And that's not, you're not gonna, so they're like, well, that's not how our policies work. That was like the shortest training ever, Stephanie, I tell you. But
Ugh.
um, I think it's a 50-50 within how people want to do it. And me,
Hmm.
I want to talk about it. Let's talk about it. It's about the good, the bad, the ugly, how can we move forward? Because
Yes.
go away. People are talking about that. I wouldn't talk about this, but I believe so. But well, my final question to you, sir, because I
Yes.
get those questions to people at the very end. If you had the ability to change anything in this world, what would it be? And we cannot change the lottery numbers because
Can't change the lottery number. Okay, so I can't just win the lottery. Okay. You know, I wish that everyone could see themselves through other people's eyes. I think if we could see ourselves, especially the way our loved ones see us,
Mhm.
um, the way our employees see us,
Yeah.
the way strangers see us, I think we would get a much better picture of who we actually are. Because little bits of those reactions and those interactions make up each person so much that I just think, and there's times you encounter someone and they're kind of down or they're down on themselves or something, and you're like, man, I wish you could see you right now through my eyes because I think you're a beautiful soul, or because you just came up with one of the most amazing ideas I've ever heard of, and you're like, yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah.
No, go with this. Do this thing. You're gonna be amazing.
Well, one, you should like patent or like copyright that whole statement into a quote and sell it. Okay. That's so powerful, and I appreciate I appreciate that as a last question for you, really. But Stephanie, thank you very much for spending time with us today, and your knowledge in the whole emotional intelligence is wow. I'm impressed. I'm having a good time with you, and I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy individual, and I really appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you for having me. It was great to be here.
Awesome. Well, folks, thank you much for watching today. If you want to see this video, we're going to post it up on LinkedIn as we go. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. I would appreciate that. So we have a great time. Thank you. Bye, Stephanie.
Bye.